Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. Thank you all once again for tuning in to this edition of the Grand Solar Minimum channel's update. Let's go ahead and get started with some space weather news. Right now we're looking at solar wind speeds coming in at 359.3 kilometers per second. Now, solar wind speed was expected today. KP indices are sitting at a 4 right now with a 24-hour max of a 4, and we were expecting high solar winds to affect Earth today. However, they have subsided since before the show started. About a half hour ago, we were looking at 381 kilometers per second. Solar wind is already starting to decline. The density has gone up just a little bit. It was an 8. It's been updated to a 10.1. Actually, it says 10.0, but it is a 10.1 at the current moment. So, no geomagnetic storm will be, well, at this point anyway, it does not seem like we are going to have a geomagnetic storm. Looking at sunspot number 2842 in your upper left corner here of the sun in the northern latitudes, that stuff down there in the southern hemisphere of the sun is not sunspot activity, believe it or not. But right now we have one sunspot. That's a sunspot number of 11, which I say this a lot when I see this, but when you see a sunspot number of 11, that is very, very small. Very solar minimum-like conditions. So there's going to be a theme to this as well. Right now, solar wind speeds at 359.3. Not that impressive when you have to consider that we had solar wind arriving today or tomorrow, which right now it's appearing that it's not really happening as strong as they thought. KP indices at a 4, 24-hour max at a 4. Cosmic radiation, 9.1% is the dosage rate. That's up in 48 hours, 0.1%. I realize that's a small gain. However, this is an indication as well when you see cosmic radiation rates go up or down, the strength of the magnetic field. And we'll get into that here just in a minute as well. So as you can see, everything here on the space weather station shows us that our sun looks like it's still having minimum-like conditions. Thus, we keep hearing about this accelerated solar cycle 25, and that's just not the case right now, folks. It has been busy. We've seen an X flare, a couple of M-class flares. We've seen multiple sunspots on our star a week ago. Sunspot number as high as 84. So we've seen it, but to me, every time we get these waves of action, it's almost like the sun goes back to sleep and takes a little nap for a little bit and then gets fired back up again. So let's go over to our space weather station on the grandsolarminimum.com and let's take a look at some space weather stats. There you see Earth's magnetic field. Just because where we are right now in the orbit, we are on the stronger side of the connection with the sun. So therefore, we should start to see, however, cosmic radiation decreasing. Solar X-ray flux is up and down, not really much going on, B-class maybe. And of course the geomagnetic activity, right now we're in a G4 or a KP of 4, so no storm at the moment. However, that could change, but not expecting it at this time. Let's take a look at the SDO in motion, and I will show you where sunspot 2842 is. It is this up here in the northern region. It is sunspot number 11. It is very small. Coronal hole action down here in the southern part. We could see some solar wind from that graze the southern part of our magnetic field, possibly. It looks like SDO went out there for a minute. This right here is not, believe it or not, qualified. There are no dark cores in this active region, so we do not have a sunspot down here. Same with this right here. Even though we see a little bit of magnetic loops, still does not possess qualities of a sunspot. This is the only one we have right now. So what does the future hold, you say? Well, let's take a look at the round and round Backside there is the black side, which is stereo B. We do not have contact with anymore. And you look at this, and it doesn't look as if we are seeing a repeat of what we had the week before and the week before that, which is kind of surprising. And they all could be in this range where stereo B does not communicate with us anymore. Here and here. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. It did look like to me that we were starting to see a consistent formation of sunspots that were just appearing every 3 to 4 days. So when one went away on this side, there was something right here ready to take its place. So we were always dealing with the sunspot. Well, right now, this is getting ready to pierce the eastern limb as we speak. It has not been circled yet. So therefore, that tells me they are not yet ready to expect to even call this a sunspot at all, this region here. So we are just dealing with the one right now. And I have to throw the question up, folks. If that is not a sunspot down there in the southern part of our star, if this does not qualify and does not develop into a sunspot and this decays, we could have a couple of days, 2 to 3 days possibly, without a sunspot. It would be kind of a unique thing because, honestly, I feel like that solar cycle 25 has begun, and it's going to be really difficult to see the possibility of sunspot, or sunspotless days, I should say. So this would be an interesting development if this holds up. But there is a possibility that we could be dealing with a blank sun right here as we get started up in this solar cycle 25 very early. But nonetheless, we will get it going at some point. And it's just amazing to me to see that we are still dealing with minimum light conditions from our star. Guys, these CMEs that we're seeing right here, these are weak. Very weak. Wait till we get... That one right there was an interesting explosion. That actually came from all parts of the disk there. Let's look at that one more time. I don't think it was that one. I think it was this one here. Right here. That one. Very interesting. Let's take a look at some more footage on that. Maybe later on figure out if any impact from that whatsoever. That could be in a couple of days if we do experience anything. Here's another look. Again, guys, this is all on the grandsolarminimum.com. On our space weather section, you could check this stuff out. These images are available at the very bottom of the space weather section. Pretty much anything you want to look at as far as SDO related, we got it. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about space weather. Cosmic rays decreasing as solar cycle 25 gains strength. This article is also, well, actually they are taking this from spaceweather.com, so congrats there, Tony Phillips. Good stuff here. They're talking about the obvious, and that is we are witnessing a decrease in cosmic radiation. Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because this number here is still considered minimum light conditions. We have seen the cosmic radiation dosage rates drop in the mid-7s and then drive back up to the mid-9s. A couple days ago, we were talking about 8.8% dosage rates. Still very high. So we are seeing a decrease in cosmic radiation because we were averaging somewhere between 9.7 and 11.1 during the heart of this minimum. So yes, we have started to see the decreasing of cosmic radiation in our atmosphere. But at what rate? And is there any indication right now that tells you that this should be stronger? And what I mean by this is looking at where we are, magnetic fields should be stronger just based on where we are in the orbit. On this side, obviously, the area that has most of the planets concentrated in one area, the stronger the connection from the sun is going to have to be. These connections magnetically are weaker, so if you get a solar flare on this side of the orbit, you could see some issues. Some strong G1, G2, G3 auroras, blackouts, whatever. Maybe even a Carrington type event. Who knows? Especially out here when the magnetic field is at its weakest. So Earth is strengthening, or is supposed to be. So that should tell you right there that we're supposed to be strengthening, especially at this point of the orbit. And yet still, we are witnessing 9.1% dosage rates in cosmic radiation. Cosmic radiation does what to the atmosphere? Does a number of things. Cloud nucleation, that helps cool. It also interacts with water droplets, water vapor in our atmosphere, and creates events like this. That was number 2 of the day for as far as raindrops. The first one was a lot more massive, but still within an hour we got a pretty good rain shower for about 15-20 minutes. And I can tell you something, this has been the pattern up here in upstate New York for the past 2 weeks. So when I see stuff like this, I know that cosmic radiation is still pretty high, because we have these downpours like this, heavy rain. You look on the radar and it's not there, but then all of a sudden it suddenly develops. Atmospheric compression, maybe, possibly. These microbursts that just on the drop of a dime. Well, you can blame cosmic radiation for participating in these kinds of events. And I'm sure most of you have seen similar events in your neighborhoods as well. It's happening all over. It's not just in one part of the world. We're starting to see these on a more frequent basis. This is what we need to start expecting in the future when we head into our next solar minimum, which is expected to be deeper than the one that we're coming out of right now. So just imagine if we are expecting a deeper minimum than what we just experienced. Imagine how more frequent these kinds of rains will be in the 2026, 27, and beyond. Just wanted to show you an example of why cosmic radiation dosage rates are something important to watch. All right, so let's move on here to, we're staying with watchers for a minute. We have news on volcano explosions here. Major explosive eruption at Stromboli volcano and the Etna southeast crater, a 29,000-foot ash plume. These are significant because we have had a lot of activity out here lately. And again, I've always spoke on low solar activity giving us more chances for volcanic and seismic activity. And the sun is acting quiet, and the volcanoes are reacting appropriately, just as we expect. Again, we're coming out of a minimum, so I'm not expecting some kind of major solar minimum type event to happen now, as we're coming out of a minimum and we're heading into a similar strength maximum that we saw in solar cycle 24. At this point, based on sunspot data that I've seen so far, we are neck and neck with solar cycle 24. The end of this year, what might give us perspective how much weaker or stronger this cycle could be than solar cycle 24, just based on where we are now compared to what we did in solar cycle 24 at this stage of the game. But again, cosmic radiation is responsible for volcanic eruptions, climate, whether it's lots of rain or lots of snow, cooling, of course, cloud nucleation, and volcanoes, the climate. All of this is all connected to what happens with our sun. They are all connected. And most of you already know that as you follow this channel. But some folks are new, so I got to repeat this from time to time to make sure they are connecting the dots. All right, let's move along. Now, tonight, the headline of the night, to me, is my little title stating, look what the disgraceful Democrats did in the middle of the night. Senate Democrats reach a $3.5 trillion bill for Biden's human infrastructure agenda, Medicare expansion. USA Today is even hiding the truth of what this means, folks. So you may remember last week when I reported on the deal that was basically bipartisan infrastructure. They had stripped out all of the Green New Deal policies. Seems like the Republicans won, and seems like that we could all say, well, look, the Biden administration is a disaster. All they talked about was climate change this and climate change that, and they did a bipartisan deal with Republicans that strips out all Green New Deal. Well, turns out Chuck Schumer and the boys decided to announce late last night, around 10:30 at night, and I know a lot of you probably stay up later than that, but folks, if this is such a big legislation, why are we getting told breaking news in the middle of the night about a massive legislation that, in my opinion, is going to change all of our lives in positives and negative ways? Positive, it'll be that people that need the insurance, that stuff, that'll be available. That's the good stuff. But I'm talking about the Green New Deal. I want to briefly go over this real quick. Why is this a big deal? And Jake, don't we have to get it approved through the Senate? Yes, we do. You're right. Why am I getting all freaked out about this? You're right. We got to get this through the Senate. It's because the Senate Democrats are using what's called the budget reconciliation tool. They have done this before with the last COVID relief bill that they passed. Okay? This means that the Democrats only need 51 votes to pass this legislation to make it law. And then, of course, the Congress has to vote on it. Now, folks, mind you, the Congress is slightly ahead with Democrats. And the bulk of those people are definitely for this new infrastructure bill. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that the bipartisan deal is null and void now? No, absolutely not. The Democrats are going to use that as the down payment for what's to happen now to get it started. So almost $1 trillion of that was bipartisan, but that was just like the skeleton of the infrastructure, like roads and highways and stuff on internet. No Green New Deal stuff, remember, okay? Now, they are going to pass this with budget reconciliation. So they will have not one but two bills that are based on infrastructure, one that covers all the Green New Deal, one that covers the physical parts of the infrastructure part of it, totaling somewhere right around $4.1 trillion. Wow. Joe Biden and Democrats have weaseled their way, and they squeezed the Republicans for as much money as they could possibly get. And it worked. It worked. They got $1 trillion almost right up front that the Republicans signed on to. But mind you, the big difference here is that the Republicans are not going to vote for this new $3.5 trillion package. Why, you say? Because this is going to be where they tax you for fossil fuels, where they're going to do the Green New Deal policies and start canceling out gasoline engines, phasing out CO2 by some ridiculous year, 2035. So now we also reported last week that Joe Manchin said, I won't turn my back on fossil fuels, so I can't vote for this. That's what he said last week. And then they stripped all of the Green New Deal stuff out, and Joe Manchin says, I can get behind that. So late last night, when the Democrats basically made this life-changing legislation announcement in the middle of the night where no one could really know about until they woke up the next morning, and there's no media press conference about it. It just got released, and that's that. Now, the Democrats suddenly have the votes to pass this bill. They only need 51 votes. Kamala Harris will be 51. That means every single Democrat will unite and vote for this $3.5 trillion bill. After we heard Joe Manchin tell the world that he will not turn his back on fossil fuels. And why is Joe Manchin so important? Without Joe Manchin, this $3.5 trillion bill does not stand a chance. They've got to have all 50 Democrats to sign on to this deal. You know Harris will vote the 51st vote, and that's it. It's passed. It goes back to Congress. And, Democrat congressmen and women are frothing at the mouth to sign on for this. Folks, this is bad. What we thought was a victory in the Green New Deal struggles, what I thought was a victory, because the bipartisan deal stripped it all out, was nothing but a trick. And a sneaky, dirty trick, if you ask me. They knew that they were going to pass this plan with budget reconciliation tool, and they didn't tell anybody their intentions. They kept it to themselves. They didn't tell the Republicans, hey, can we work this deal out? Because when we approve this one, we want to work one without you and really, really just get into people's pockets. Okay, you won't believe how we're going to do it on this one. You think any Republican would work with a Democrat now? And they shouldn't. And listen, I don't mean to be political because I hate politics and climate. Okay, I don't really follow either anymore. Both parties have disappointed me. The Republican Party has had many opportunities to explain grand solar minimum to the world, and they haven't said a peep. Nobody from the Republican or the Democratic Party mentions grand solar minimum. None of them. None of them mention natural climate change. None of them mention solar cycles. None of them mention that, guys. It's time to stop pretending and really figure out who is going to speak for us. The people who know that this whole thing, climate change, man-made, is a scam. And the Green New Deal is coming for you. New taxes on gas, energy. They're taking away your cars. They're going to take away flights. They want to install everything that will revert to solar and wind, only to fail down the road because we don't have enough solar to power the grid, and we don't have the battery capacity to power the grid. Now, I've always been an advocate for individual solar panels, individual batteries on your own property. I think that would work. But the government's so greedy that if you disconnect from the utilities, the power and the water, all of a sudden now your home is now considered condemnable. So you're not allowed to provide your own power. You could set up your own solar situation at your house right now and be able to efficiently electric your home, heat your home, everything for free. Just the initial cost of everything is expensive, but that'll pay for itself in time. The government wants that money. They got to have that revenue. So what are they really about, folks? Do they really want to change the world for climate change, or they just want to do what's going to make them more money? And right now, they're proven to be greedy politicians. They worked out a bipartisan deal with the Republicans to try to get this unity feeling going. And the Republicans said, finally, we did something together. This is great. And then the Democrats said, thanks for the down payment, Jack. Here's the real deal. So yeah, the deal, the bipartisan deal does not support Green New Deal. But it's just more money that Republicans probably didn't want to spend in the first place. Remember, their initial counteroffer for this deal was $600 billion. Biden initially came at them with a $3.4 trillion deal. I think it was actually $4 trillion deal. And the Republicans laughed and said, $600 billion is what you're getting. And then Biden came down to 2.1, and then they said 600 billion is what you're getting. And then Biden got it down to 1.2, and then they agreed on a number like 980 billion. I'm like, wow, they almost got $1 trillion out of the Republicans who really are trying to be conservative right now. We spent a lot of money from COVID. Now, the good news, well, there is no good news actually, in my opinion, because the $1 trillion bill that was bipartisan is going to be spent right away. Okay, so you're going to expect taxes to go up soon. Now, yes, taxes are going to go up on those who make $400,000 or more. If you make under $400,000 a year, even small businesses, you will not see higher taxes. That's good to hear. But folks, we're going to pay for it in other ways. Okay? There's going to be new gas tax in this bill. There's going to be new energy tax in this bill. There's going to be carbon taxes in this bill. There's going to be incentives to get people into electric cars and out of the combustion. They want to get rid of all combustible engines by 2030. Well, no. 2050, 2045, 2050. They don't want any more gasoline-powered engines. They want it all hybrid, or electric, I should say. I just want to know where they're going to get the energy to charge these cars up. And do they realize that if you charge multiple times in a day, you're putting out the same emissions from the power grid chargings that you would have put out if you just would have had a gasoline engine driving around? So it cancels itself out, and it's a big pain in the neck to transfer everything over from gasoline to battery power. Mari showed me an article the other day that talks about leased vehicles from the government. They're trying to find a use for used electric cars. The number one reason why nobody buys a used electric car is because the battery cost. When it does finally go out, it's going to cost you between $6,000 and $10,000 to replace that main battery. That's right, folks. $6,000 to $10,000 to get your hybrid or electric car battery changed out when it finally does go kaput. How many of you could take your car to the shop right now and drop $8-9 grand on a battery? Oh, you're so selfish. You're not going to save the planet with that attitude. You better pay up, buddy. And that's what the Democrats are saying to you right now. They're looking at you like, how dare you? How dare you continue to pollute the population, the climate change? You're just adding to it. Get yourself an electric car and then pay up that 10 grand on that new battery in 6 years. Come on, do it for the planet. You guys know I'm being facetious, right? Yeah, China gets rich from the minerals. Absolutely. China's getting rich from the creating all the green technology. They're the ones making it and selling it. They're the ones getting rich off of it. And then here's the kicker. China doesn't have to abide by any kind of Paris Treaty. They pay what's called a carbon credit tax. And that is when you pay a certain amount of money and you are allowed to put out as much CO2 or pollutants that you want. CO2 is not a pollutant, but you get the point. China's off the hook, folks. They are off the hook, and they're making all the Green New Deal technology, so they're double dipping. Guys, I'm sorry. I think this is a big deal, and some of you may think, oh, this is just something I watched on the news last night. What's the big deal is that these people are cowards. They announce a legislation that should have the approval from the American people, okay? Not just the very thin majority right now. When you look at Congress, very thin majority goes to Democrats. It's neck and neck in the Senate. I'm telling you guys, there's something that should be done about this legislation. If Democrats from Texas can leave the state and block legislation voting for a bill they're trying to pass, why can't Republican senators or something leave the Capitol and do the same kind of protest to hold this up? This economy is not recovered yet. So the Democrats want to imply new policies that will lead to price hikes in gasoline, that will lead to price hikes in your energy at home. Just ask people in Germany. Ask people in California how that green stuff, how that solar and wind's working out. Most people in Europe can tell you right now, they're jumping ship from the whole green. The UK is. They've canceled all the subsidy programs that they used to have for green energy. They've canceled the subsidies. Look, nope, no more. We're not paying any more out. Because they're finding out when you add in maintenance costs, it's double what we're paying for natural gas, coal, and oil. Yes, we should find ways to burn it cleaner. I'm not saying let's pollute the world. But we can't turn our backs on stuff like, for instance, natural gas. People have a problem with that because it's fracking, it causes earthquakes, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I get that. But when you look at the overall picture, natural gas saved us about 2.7% CO2 emissions in 2017. So if it's cleaner for the atmosphere and it's cheaper and it's better, natural gas is way better, any source that we have on this planet, in my opinion. As long as you can do it cleanly, let's do it. Let's do it safe, let's do it clean. But to throw out these efficient and cheap, affordable ways, and if you want to be energy dependent, you can't turn your back on natural gas. Point blank. You say oil's too big to fail. I don't know. Maybe someday that we can wean ourselves off the oil tit. But right now with natural gas, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. Coal seems a little barbaric. I still think we could do better with hydro, with natural gas, and hydro, natural gas, what else? I don't know. Hydro and natural gas, and nuclear. Let's try that 3 for a while. Let's see what happens with that. How cheap would energy be at that point? Oh, that's right. We can't do that because if we make energy cheap, that means the big boss ain't making any money. He's not making enough. He's got to have more of your money. So I hope you folks are understanding what this is all about. This is not about saving the planet. This is about changing the economy. This is about changing the way the world operates. They want to be the leaders by example here. That's what the United States is doing. So they misled people with last week's bill that passed with Republicans. They made you think that, hey, all right, they're working together. Good job. No, they're not working together. They're not working together. They're playing games. Yeah, so on his first day in office, what has Biden done? He has revoked the permit for the Keystone Pipeline. The next day, he suspended all permitting of oil and gas drilling on federal lands and waters. Biden's EPA set in motion the reversal of Trump administration loosening of rules on methane emissions in the process of producing oil and gas. These tightened Biden restrictions have the effect of increasing the cost of production. And by the way, hello, our gasoline prices are also higher. That's not a coincidence, folks. When the government puts in tighter restrictions to the oil companies, you pay. Not the government, not the big oil companies, you. These are just examples of over hostility to fossil fuel energy development specifically intended to have the effect of making energy projects more difficult and more expensive to develop. And so far, the government's actions are rapidly accomplishing their intended goals. And they're going over here. Look at this. So since the day that Biden went in office, it was 53.30. Gas prices were starting to head in the right direction. Now, today, or yesterday, $74 a barrel, folks. 74 barrel. Average price of gasoline in January was $2.42. Again, heading in the right direction. Now today, we are averaging a $3.17, and we are paying that up here in upstate New York. That is not an exaggeration. This article is very accurate. No sensationalism here. But it does feel like the Biden administration, after last night's stunt, is working to undermine America. Is working that in one breath they tell you we don't want any more poverty. That's why they're giving out those child credit tax payments for the next 6 months. They're trying to eliminate poverty. Yeah, they're trying to get you ready. Put some of this money away because you're going to need it. Your bills are going to be through the roof. In fact, they're going to have to implement a permanent program like this for low-income families to be able to afford to have electricity, running water, or heat in the winter and food. Because I'm telling you, this sneaky little bill that got passed in the middle of the night, an agreement amongst the Democrats that this will be used to get through with the budget reconciliation tool. So no matter what you like it or not, it will be a law, whether you like it or not. Your government is going to spend $3.5 trillion of your taxpayer dollars, whether you like it or not. Whether you believe that CO2 is causing climate change, you're being forced to drive electric cars and to not eat hamburgers anymore and eat impossible meat. Okay, you're being forced to do that. That's what's happening. I'm furious. I know. I probably lost some of you on this one, but that's okay. I think it's time we start realizing neither party is doing anything for us when it comes to climate change. They're both bozos. They can't figure it out. They can't get a deal done together. They won't work together. They're both bozos. We have been on the air since 2017 talking about the education of grand solar minimum, trying to get the information out. We have contacted several Republican representatives, and none of them have replied or even said, hey, let's hear more about these solar cycles, or can you point me in the right direction of some peer-reviewed papers that prove these theories? They've had a couple interviews with Mark Morano and Patrick Moore and Dr. Roy Spencer over the past 8 years. Nothing's ever happened. It's like these senators and congresspeople are informed of the truth when they bring these people in, and they don't translate it into nothing in their work. Hell, Rick Perry will tell you that he believes man is responsible for climate change, but he'll say, but it's not as bad as you think. Okay, the fact that Rick Perry says that we are responsible for climate change in a small way is ridiculous, because we all know that we're not. Period. End of story. So, folks, be aware what's going on out there, okay? They're telling you about the climate crisis. In Greenland here, what's up with that? Great article, Greenland's 2021 spring. More snow, less melt. That's what happens when it snows more, less melt. Check this out. This is on one of our favorite Twitter guys here, David Birch. Look at the snow mass gain in Greenland. Those blue lines is what's going on right now. The gray shaded stuff are averages from previous years. You see the peaks here in the shadows. Look at that. That was early June. This was late June, like in the 20s. And then even in July, look, guys, we're well above baseline on mass gain right now for snow in Greenland. It's summer in the Arctic, and we're used to seeing it. I mean, look, the graph obviously shows us a dip. It knows we're going to melt from April through August. It knows that. But it ain't showing us that now. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Antarctic's ice also slow and steady, but look at this. The Arctic, people are freaking out about 2012, how we were starting off below that red line. Remember, everybody's like, oh, we're melting faster than the 2012. That was a record low. Now look at us. We're not even showing signs of a dip. We're still going strong like Teflon Don on the snow up there in Greenland. And I found this article tonight on AccuWeather. Go check it out, guys. It's telling us when snow fell in the hottest place on Earth. Very unique part of the year to be writing about snow in Death Valley. Maybe he's working on reverse psychology and trying to help cool people off. It did hit 134 the other day out there. As I'm reading this article, though, guess what it's referring to a lot in here? A snow event that happened 100 years ago. And then they start talking about La Niñas and what could happen during a La Niña. And is it possible that AccuWeather is throwing out an Easter egg here and telling us that, be ready, we saw some extreme heat in places we haven't seen extreme heat before. Be ready to see extreme cold in places we haven't seen extreme cold before. That's what AccuWeather's saying. Read between the lines. I don't care what you say. You throw out an article about snow in Death Valley 2 days after it hits 134. This is not trying to cool people off. This is, look, It's going to happen. It's happened before in the past. It's going to happen again during certain cycles. Folks, again, it's almost like these guys sometimes debunk their own claims. AGW is a made-up scheme to make money, to get the rich richer, to change the economy. Think about it. The Green New Deal wants to revert everything to solar and wind connections. So if your building is traditionally rigged with, current electrician, whatever stuff it has now, it's going to be retrofitted so it can accept solar and wind. There are going to be things in your office buildings that you won't have anymore because those are considered dangerous to the climate. I'm telling you, man, there's going to be some petty regulations that we're going to see. And again, a deal like that being passed at 10:30, or the announcement being made on an agreement for a deal that's going to be more money for people in their pockets when it comes to buying food, energy, gas, cost of goods, you name it, travel, everything is going to go up on top of the inflation, on top of the bad economy situation that we could be facing soon. Unemployment benefits are going to run out in September. Eviction moratoriums are running out in August. Guys, bad news. Stock up. Start learning. If you don't know how to grow, you better start learning. Get you some books. It's time to start learning to be self-reliant. These Democratic programs that are just throwing money left and right are not going to be here forever. And if the Democrats are willing to, and here's the bad news, the budget reconciliation tool, they can't use it again for this fiscal year after this. So you're thinking, oh good, thank God, that means, no more BS for the rest of the year. No, the fiscal year ends in October 21st. So October 22nd, if they have another bill they want to pass, they could do it again using the budget reconciliation tool. Yeah. This $3.5 trillion could just be the stepping stone, a first of many, a series of these bills to be passed over the next 3 years. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I mean, obviously you don't want either party in control, in my opinion, when it comes to climate policies, because they don't know. But it really feels like the current party that's in control right now is doing some dangerous things. They're playing with the American way. They're arrogant to think that their policies will stop. Pete Buttigieg actually has come out and been quoted saying that this new bill will stop climate change. He is being quoted, folks, in a news article that this will stop climate change. I want everybody to put that man on. We can start a website. Pete Buttigieg, are you right? Are you wrong? Let's find out. And I guarantee you, we'll be laughing about this guy in about 5 to 8 years, especially when the grand solar minimum kicks into full gear and people are thinking, is this what they meant by mini ice age? It's cold. Well, but remember, Al Gore says we wouldn't have any ice on the caps by now. We wouldn't see, our children wouldn't know what snow was. No snow. No snow in the Arctic right now, right? Jeez, I'm telling you, man, I don't make this up. It's actually real news, believe it or not. Let's take a look at our GFS outlook, shall we, in the next couple of days. Listen, the pattern holds steady. Rain across the Midwest, into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast. South also seeing that. Why are we seeing this endless loop of rain, you're saying yourself, right? Because there's a high pressure system out here in the middle of the Atlantic that's pushing this moisture to go over and over and over and over again, and it's ridiculous. And it seems like it rains every other day up here in upstate New York. It gets sunny, hot, rains, sunny, hot, rains. Repeat. And it looks more of the same as we go through the weekend. More storms across the Midwest, into the South, into the Northeast by the end of the weekend, and early week next week, more rain on the way for the Northeast and across the South. Once again, monsoon season trying to get underway in the Southwest. Not enough rain, though. Needs to be pushed further west. New Mexico, Arizona, I know you're probably appreciative of this next Wednesday. However, we still need to see more rain get pushed a little bit further west. Low pressure moving off to the northeast. High pressure settling over the Midwest. But again, That low pressure keeping it rainy in the northeast across the Great Lakes. This is by next Friday, July 23rd, about 8 days away from now. And the pattern is just like it is today. Stormy in the south, rain showers off and on in the Midwest into the Northeast. This pattern is going to continue, folks. I don't see this letting up anytime soon. You see that rotation of moisture just coming in from the south to the Midwest and into the Northeast. Meanwhile, where we need the most rain, because we got fire season going on, obviously. It's been hotter than the dickens out here, okay? It's been hotter than the dickens. Are we going to get any rainfall? I hope. Let's check it out. Pacific Northwest, we don't see any significant rainfall till, oh my. Oh boy. You don't get any. No rain for you. None. Zero. Zilch. What's our temperatures look like? Summer for sure, right? Finally, July 15th, it's about daggone time. It has not been like this all year, that's for sure. Let's keep her moving, shall we? Hot temperatures across all over the United States. Summer is here, finally. Middle of July, it's starting to feel like summer across the United States. This is into the weekend. Look at these high temperatures across the east and the south. Upper 80s and 90s. Finally, a little bit of a break for the west as far as the triple digits. Look at Oregon and Washington on the far west coast. We're talking temperatures in the 70s for daytime highs. But that hot air now, that's going to continue to move east. This heat dome that was settled over here is now heading over here, and we will see it move this way eventually by mid-part, late July. So as this heat blob moves to the east, you'll see temperatures on the coast start to cool down. Again, I've said this all the time, guys. Wherever you see extreme heat in one area, there's going to be extreme cold in another. And that's how it works. It's atmospheric pressure. When the heat moves, colder air moves in. And that's showing up right now. Look at that, the west coast. Look at this. Proof right there. And we're moving. This heat dome is moving to the east. Here comes the cooler air, finally giving some relief out here to these folks. Finally, right? Now that you just get some rain with that. Temperatures heating up across the northern plains as we get to Wednesday, July 21st. Look at those daytime highs. Triple digits for Montana, up in Minnesota, North Dakota as well. Hot as hell again in California and Arizona. Once again, triple digits for you folks in the middle of next week. And that will continue for most of the West Coast, really, except for northwestern parts of Oregon and Washington. Starting to cool off a little bit. Northeast, 70s, 60s, that's okay for July 22nd, I guess. I don't know. High temperatures, again, triple digits all across the northern plains and on the southwest side of the United States. Next Friday, triple digits once again registering I'd say about 35% of the damn country on July 24th. It's going to be hot, folks. But look what the high temperatures are in the Northeast. Look at that. 61 in Maine. 65 in Syracuse. Hell, by the evening, temperatures will be down in the 50s. By late evening. So where it's really hot in one area, we see extreme. I mean, come on, guys. That's a 60-degree drop. Extreme drop as well for highs. Lows overnight, nothing bad, nothing hateful. Boo! Still hot up in the northern plains states on Saturday, July 24th. Moderate weather for the Midwest, Great Lakes, and for the Northeast. Summer across the South and places where it should be hot, right? Southwest finally starting to see some relief from that heat finally around July 26th. Still in the extreme Southwest and Arizona and Southern California, still seeing it. But guys, here we go, and CNN's going to jump all over this. 115 degrees of the Canadian border up there in Minnesota. Oh, climate change. It's 115 in Canada all summer. It started off in the northwest and then it moved across the central parts of Canada. Watch out, Quebec and Toronto. You're next. I bet you anything we're going to hear that. Is that going to happen? Will that heat wave move that far to the north and northeast? I don't know. Boy, it sure is going to stay hot, though, in the northern plains, and this is unique. This heat dome is slowly moving away from the west coast. Slowly. So, very interesting pattern on the temperature side of things. For the most part, though, it's summer. Okay, it's summer, and it's hot like this in the summer across Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, and South Dakota. This might be a little extreme, though, for parts of North Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, and parts of South Dakota as well. That might be a little much, triple digits, but I've lived in Kansas in the summer. Let me tell you, folks, I've been there, 117 degrees outside, and the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour. It's like someone's got a hairdryer blowing in your face on medium. It's ridiculous. All right, let's take a look at our oceans, right? Are we going to see La Nina, El Nino? Well, we are definitely on a La Nina watch. This is the North Atlantic still dropping below baseline. We were warming up quite a bit and have since started to cool back down again. Could that be part of the reason why we're seeing the snow in Greenland? We're seeing the majority of the ocean temperatures dropping most of the time. Right now, our El Nino watch is now gone, and we are back into a La Nina watch. We are only above baseline by 0.126. Let's look at the tropics, shall we? Not really much to look at. Remember Elsa. Oh, it's the earliest named storm this time of the year. It's so busy this year. All these hurricanes. Oh. You know, the only person that doesn't do that is Mike's weather page. He doesn't really sensationalize anything. But Weather Channel, AccuWeather, they're all telling you how busy of a hurricane season it is, and it's record-breaking, and then nothing. Why is that? Well, a couple things. Ocean temperatures is one of them. Another part of it, too, the variable that we don't talk about a lot, is that dust that we see from the Sahara Desert. That's right, folks. There you got it right there. And the majority of that dust, boy, you're not going to see any storm development over Cuba or anywhere near the Gulf at this time. No way. In fact, the trail that most of these storms, these waves travel, are completely choked out right now with dust. And look what's coming around the bend. That dark brown is very thick dust. Let's factor this in that during La Ninas we see more wind shear. And guess what? We're in La Nina-like conditions, so we are going to see more wind shear, more dust. Guys, that means less storms, less impactful hurricanes. They're not as severe, they're not as strong. If a La Nina takes place once again, which right now a lot of folks are, looks like we're going to see that. And I got to give credit to David Birch, the Starman, because he's been calling this La Nina for quite some time before the mainstream media released their watches a week ago. I've been aware of this potential watch for the last 3 months, thanks to David Birch. So good eye, my friend over there in the UK. You definitely saw this coming. Now it's an official watch. Usually when you see the watch, it means its conditions are likely we're going to see another La Nina in a very, very cold winter here in the North America, especially in the Northeast and the Great Lakes. I'm telling you, man, this one's going to be a doozy. Last year was cold, snowy. It's going to be a doozy this one as well. Want to thank Seth. Seth, thank you very much. Wow, very generous donation. We greatly appreciate that. Folks, if you like what we do at this channel, check out our Teespring here on our YouTube channel. You can click on our Teespring account and check out all the Grand Solar Minimum t-shirts, coffee mugs, bumper stickers. Show your support for natural climate change and solar cycles by purchasing something off of the Grand Solar Minimum Teespring store. Want to say hello to our lovely mods, Dorothy Rose. Hello, Knife Collector as well. And also, we have Matt Bros. Good to see you out here. Fishing Magician, my neighbor. Basically, he's about 10 minutes away from me. Good to see you out here. Jerome, also from New York. Nice to see you, my friend. Lots of new faces out here, folks. Lots of new faces. Good to see all the new people that we have in this chat. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. This channel will become more active as we get closer to the 1st of August, the second week of August. We will pick back up on our daily updates on Grand Solar Minimum news, space weather, and climate as well. Matthew McDonald, good to see you, my friend. One of my favorite Twitter followers as well. Good to see you here. Reverend Fry, hello, and greetings to Dr. H. Good guy here, definitely. Good to see you here as well, my friend. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight on the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We hope you got something out of tonight's broadcast. And if you think this is something useful, please share it, subscribe, like it, leave a comment. Let us know where you're from, what kind of weather you're experiencing. But nonetheless, if you know people who need to hear the truth and need to understand that what we're going through right now is a change of our economy, the change of the American way. I mean, it's not communism, but it's going to feel like it. It's going to be pretty damn close. This is a very, very, very important situation, folks. And it's time we come together as citizens of this country and try to do something to stop legislation like this from becoming law. There's got to be petitions we can start. There's got to be some kind of action. Because look, the research is coming out every day. More evidence that natural climate change is what takes place. It has nothing to do with humans. Period. Point blank. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for tuning in once again, guys. Until next time, we will talk soon. Take care, everybody.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.